Hey, thanks for checking out this video. This video is a coaching session between me and my friend Naomi. And unfortunately, when we started doing coaching sessions, I didn't quite have the tech figured out to how to record the sessions. So, this session you're about to see is probably the third, fourth, or fifth session that we even did. So just realize when we're talking about different things or what we did last time, that there's not going to be a video you can go see to see what we did last time. However, I just started a new several sessions with a friend of mine, Matt. And if you check that video out, that's where we kind of start from the beginning. And we go over the stuff that I would have gone over with Naomi kind of first. So check that out if you're looking for something to just start with and you're brand new. And if not, and you're interested in checking out what we did in this session, we started to go over the major scale and how to see our instrument and how to start constructing chords and arpeggios and finding where we can you might be able to think of this like understanding the fretboard, or it's not frets, it's fret markers, but understanding where the notes are going to lay on your steel guitar. And we do all of this in the context of C6. Now, that being said, there's probably a bunch of stuff and information that you could extract from this, even if you don't play C6 specifically. So definitely jump in and stay tuned. There's a couple of different sections where we talk about a few different things. When the video starts out, we're gonna be talking about some different styles of music and that sort of thing. So I'll have chapters down below. If there's anything that I maybe explain poorly, or I'm explaining in a circle and it's just not making any kind of a sense, please leave a comment down below if it's something that you're trying to really understand, or you maybe you need a better demonstration. Maybe the camera angle is not very good for the kind of thing, or it maybe needs some more context, so that the thing doesn't make sense because we don't have the right context for it. Or we like the idea and you like the concept, but you want to see it on a different tuning or something, and it would just be easier to have it right there. Then please leave me a comment down below, or shoot me an email, and I would be happy to try to make a video for you, when I get a chance. You're gonna find that these videos of these coaching sessions, I don't edit them very much. I just kind of try to get it to where you can hear it, and chop off the very beginning and maybe the very end, just because I got a day job and I'm working on the car, and I gotta have time to practice too. So I'm just trying to get these videos out there, hopefully in an effort. Matt and Naomi have graciously agreed to be able to put this out here on YouTube, knowing that there's other people out there that might be trying to learn steel guitar, and maybe you gotta pay for a subscription over here, or you gotta, all the information is maybe not condensed in a single place. So in an effort to try to give you some free opportunity to learn some steel guitar, we posted these lessons here. So I hope you enjoyed this one with Naomi. Yeah, without further ado, we'll jump in.
Remember before when I was like, oh, we're going to record these. I could not ever figure out how to actually do that. So we're going to try it this time.
All right.
We'll see if it actually goes. How do I move this out of the way?
I've been on a huge Speedy West kick now. Thanks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I listened to that one, the album, I guess one of his albums. And what's weird is that one of his songs, Rippling Waters, is trending right now on TikTok.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really hard to play. He plays that on E9 pedal steel.
Yeah, it is weird. It is a neat
Or
one.
or something kind of close to E9. He might have done something funny with it, but the person I've seen that's like actually come closest to transcribing that is a guy named Will Ellis Johnson. Do you know him?
Huh. I don't think so.
He's a Nashville guy, but
Well, I might have seen him and then not realized who it was.
yeah, but he's kind of cool because he plays a lot of pedal steel, but he also plays lap steel, and he plays like a bunch of Jerry Bird arrangements and all that stuff. So a lot of Hawaiian. He's got a little Hawaiian group down here called the Pontoon Serenaders, but he also plays with like Mose Wilson and
Oh, cool.
whoever honky tonk country artist is around.
I guess that's just the life of steel guitar, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of just depends on what you want to do, and you got to kind of pick and choose because there's so much you can do with it.
Right.
You
got to like stay on brand to yourself a little bit.
Yeah, there's an aspect of like, well, do you want to play? I think part of it's like, I think if you want to make it in the music industry nowadays, you have to either decide, am I going to be a side person or am I going to be a band leader? And you can do either of them, but it seems like the industry is like, if you're going to be a side person, you've got to be really flexible because you might not necessarily get to play exactly what you want if you want a job.
Right.
You might have to like learn some stuff. Yeah, if like that's how you're going to make your money and you're not going to do anything else, then you might have to do that. Versus if you want to like start your own band and do exactly what you want to do, other people are probably not going to help you with any of the legwork, like other people that are in your band.
Right.
You
like
would
you're gonna plan everything out and
right. And you can eventually get people on board to help with that. But they got to know that they're making money. They might like help you with the Instagram if you have a band, but they got to know that the band is working and that it's like an investment that they can
make money at. They got to spot it.
So as the band leader, you got to have work on the books for them. Otherwise, it's like, and none of that has anything to do with playing. So
right, that's just like business.
Right. So yeah, it's a funny
it's
thing.
like, do you want to take a more business approach, or I guess a technical music approach?
Right. I mean, part of it, it's this thing where it's like you have to find this balance of like, do you want to play exactly what you want to play and only that? And are you willing to maybe make your income another way until you can get your band working? And that's kind of the path that I'm deciding I'm going to walk now. Or you can go learn how to, play what people are seeming to wanting to be looking for,
Right.
Okay, so let's jump in here. Let me change the tunings real quick. And then I think we got... It's close. So... See if that sounds okay.
Yeah.
Good enough. Okay, so it's been 2 weeks. We went to the Steel Jam.
So what? Yeah, the Steel Jam. That was kind of neat because I got to sit next to Alex, so he was like, show me how to play the songs.
Oh yeah. He was like, "Oh, it's like one. It's 4. It's 1."
Yeah, I could kind of like cheat on the test and be like, no, it goes to it's these strings. These strings, they're these ones.
Yeah.
But I know that the last thing that we were that we were going over was like different roles.
Yeah, it was a lot of like picking pattern type things. You know, like
A lot of
super basic blocks to, you know, stringing some things
pattern.
together.
And I've been doing those super slowly, just so I like learn it right. Because then, you know, like sometimes you like it, I don't want it to get sloppy. I don't want it to get like quick sloppy. I want it to get quick, right?
Right.
But I guess like, you know, making sure that I'm like muting it.
Yeah,
We were
that
talking about like
oftentimes that becomes the sort of sticking point, is like you can play the string, but then you can't necessarily get it to stop right when you want it to stop. So that's kind of why I feel like you end up having to take it a bit slower.
Mm-hmm. Like,
so
I guess
what are some things that can you show me a couple of them that you've been working on?
Like, well, the first thing that
Even
we
if it's
did
just like,
was just like, and then we were talking about like when you go backwards, how you can kind of like pick block with your actual first finger
yeah.
versus
Hey,
when you're on.
there's sorry, I'm going to interrupt you here. There's a setting that I think might be turned on your end on the software here. If you can kind of go to your sound settings, I think it might be like if you can click on like the mic, the audio settings, and then there's like a little gear icon. That if you can click and pull that up.
Oh, there's noise cancellations.
Yeah, see if that's like on, because I noticed that. Hey, I can hear you still guitar now.
Yay!
Yeah, before it was just like, I was like, man, I feel like it's muting it or something.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, so I can hear you now.
Okay, so yeah, like we were just doing the thumb, and then talking about how when you go back, you mute it with your first finger. And then the other things we were doing were like the difference between like a forward roll and a backwards roll. And then you taught me another one where like you pick with your first finger, and then you do your first or your second and your thumb.
Right.
That was another one.
And a lot of this is, you know, right now we're at that stage of like, all right, well, how does this help me in context? And so we're not really using specific examples of like, here's where you might use that in a song necessarily,
Right.
but there's like, you can kind of think about this as like finger independence, like a drummer.
Yeah.
You know, they have to learn how to like have limb independence, so that they can, you know, do this beat with this hand and then another beat with that hand, you know, all at the same time. So I kind of tend to think about it as like you're training your fingers how to be like, I want these strings and then I want those, and then I want these and then I want those. And it's very similar to like training, you know, if you were like learning how to like Merle Travis pick or something on a regular guitar. You know, you have to teach the thumb how to play
the bass line without
keep a rhythm.
I can Travis style pick, but it's
But this is different.
Yeah, this is different. It's cool. At first I couldn't keep my thumb doing the bass line while doing like the other, you know,
the melody.
Yeah.
But it's like it's interesting because these kinds of things are training you to like, oh, okay, I'm gonna use those. You know, you're gonna decide, okay, you're alternating.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago I couldn't do that at all. Like for my first and my second finger, my thumb would not go at the same time. They just couldn't.
Right, but I can tell you've been practicing. It sounded good.
And then I think there was something else too. Oh, it might have been just like different grips that you can do rolls with.
Mm-hmm. I know we talked about major and minor, and then just like
Yeah.
don't worry about it, like go all the way across.
Yeah.
So like when you practice, can you show me like what you might do when you practice? Let's
So
say,
one song that I kind of had been practicing.
yeah.
I was practicing, or what it is that? I was practicing something like that just so I could like put a left hand thing to it, kind of give it like
Right, yeah. Make it start to sound more like a song, so it's a little bit more fun to play.
yeah.
And
And
at
then
the
I
same
just I
time,
would
you're
turn
using
on that.
both.
Yeah, like it's still a little sloppy if I play it faster. So then I would do that, and then I would be like scrolling on my phone, and I would keep going like this, or just do like a forward roll, and then that one, the other one, that one made me mad, so I would just keep doing that one over and over again.
Right. And if you go back to what we talked about, where it's like, there's pretty good data on it now that when you're teaching yourself how to do a new motion, you're trying to make a mind to muscle connection, and something feels really awkward and it's unnatural, which is, to be quite frank, a lot of steel guitar playing is unnatural.
Well, yeah, that's a weird, like,
So you only have to do something 70 times in order to get that in. So I think that's exactly the right thing to do, is just to sit there and
do it 70 times at least.
Right. Which ultimately, when you're first learning it and you're going slow, that might take you, depending on exactly how difficult it is, or like if it's, how many steps are involved, it might take you like 2 to 5 minutes to get through 70 reps, which is
right, but at
another.
least you're like, it helped me because I'm like, okay, if I at least do it this many times, I at least know that I made the connection. So it kind of puts it into like, how much do I know is like a good amount for me to do this, where I feel like I'm actually making an improvement,
Right. There's also been points in times where, like, when I was first starting out, I wouldn't want to practice unless I had like an hour to practice, or 45 minutes. And as soon as like a small chunk of that hour that I had maybe, set aside to practice, went away because something came up and I had to go, answer the door or whatever, I would just no longer decide to practice. But once I realized, oh, I can teach my hand how to do something new in like 2 to 5 minutes, I'll do that. If I realize I'm sitting around for 5 or 10 minutes, I've got like just a couple minutes, I'll
right.
find the steel guitar. And this is the best part about it, is if you're trying to just teach your fingers something new on the strings, it doesn't matter what tuning it's in. It doesn't matter if it's in tune. It doesn't matter if the amp's on. It doesn't matter any of that. You just put it in your lap and, start going.
That's what I was doing too, is not even like turning the amp on, and then like wait when I'm waiting for stuff, or like in a waiting period.
Yeah, I think it's great because I'll grab the thing and I won't even have the legs on. I'll just throw it in my lap, and then, or like people are watching TV or something, and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna do this. And if you need it to be even quieter, you can take your left hand and use your left hand like it's the bar.
Oh yeah, you showed me that. I had no idea it could do that. I was like, now it's a banjo.
Yeah. So instead of having the strings ring out, even when the amp's off, you can, because it sort of deadens the strings.
That is neat. You can get so many different like sounds out of a steel guitar that you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, I want to get a lap steel too, so I can.
You got a lap steel. It's right there.
Yeah, like take the legs off.
You just take the legs off and stick it in your lap. That's what I do with this one. Um,
But yeah.
yeah, a 6-string lap steel can be helpful. I feel like I got to figure out how to get an 8-string that's cheap and you can just do what you need to do on, because I feel like it's just easier for me to grab the double neck and just throw it somewhere.
Yeah. My buddy found a double neck 8-string lap steel, weird looking thing on Facebook Marketplace for like $300.
Nice. Okay, so let's get into some stuff here. Sounds like the right hand's coming along a little bit. With some of the finger independence.
Yeah, actually, I think doing those and then going to the steel meet was like,
you feel like
I like
you've leveled
embarrassed
it.
myself. Yeah, I like embarrassed myself into forcing myself to do it. It was like,
yeah. I wonder. Because we could kind of go in two directions here. We could talk about scales and sort of revisit that idea. Talk about how to construct them, how to do them.
Scales would be nice to know.
And so do you know how to construct a major scale? Like when I say how to construct it, like if you just picked a note, any note on the steel guitar, could you play just on one string? Could you play a major scale? Do you know how the intervals work?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So let's say you take we'll just take the top string, I guess. Oh, actually, no, let's take like the 4th string. And I'm at the 3rd fret there.
Yeah.
So
They're all it's all going to be spaced exactly the same.
not exactly. So that's the part where I mean we're going to construct it. There's different intervals as we go. Okay. So if this is your one note, what note is that? That's what, a G or an A? A G C E, right? Or no, G A C E. So that would be a B flat. This is a B flat note. So even though this is an E flat chord, this is a B flat note. We're going to play a B flat major scale. Now, in the key of B flat, what's the 4 chord? Do you know?
Is it F?
That's the 5 chord.
Oh, C? No, not C.
It is one whole step down from F. So you go F.
Oh,
E flat.
E flat?
Yeah. So you in the key of B flat, you have the 1 chord is B flat. And then the 4 chord is A flat or E flat. And then you have F. So you can kind of think about the same way that you would normally have. Actually, let's do this. Let's switch to the 2nd string. We're going to change keys again. And let's pick a nice key. So we'll
straight to B
we'll
flat.
why don't we just do C? I just like grabbed a note. Why don't we start with C, open string C, 2nd string. So in the key of C, you know where your 4 and your 5 positions are, because we're kind of in that we're using that root note, where they normally line up as your spot. So it'll make it a little easier because you're going to already be familiar with that. So C, and then where's your 4 chord, and what note is that? What note is that?
Oh, C.
4 chord of C is
a D and one's a D and one's a G. Is it a D?
No, it's F. Chord
Oh, F, yeah.
F. There's a D in there. There's a
I
D.
only know it if I play regular guitar for some reason.
Okay. Well, you got to learn it for steel, so that's why we're asking.
Yes.
It's okay to get it wrong, but we got to learn it. Okay, so in the key of C, your 5 chord is
F.
no, that is a 4 chord.
Oh, yeah. Your 5 chord is
chord.
G.
G. All right. So you already know where those 3 notes are in your major scale. They're all in your major scale. So you got C, you got F, and G, and then you got the octave. And we got to grab the notes in between. So you kind of already have, you're going to pass through each of those positions as we do this.
Like it's kind of laid out that way.
Right. So you need to now know what the 2 chord and the 3 chord are for us to get from 1 to 5. And we're only going to play the root note of those chords right now because we're just playing single notes. And so in the key of C, it's great because there's no sharps and there's no flats. So you just count up the alphabet. So you got your 2 chord is D. Where's D? How far away is D from C?
A whole step.
Whole step. So you go to the second. Now, what's your next note?
Oh, D, E?
That's right, E. And how far away is E from D?
A whole step.
That's right. So you're going to go C, D, and then E.
And okay. So then F is a half.
Yeah, you can see. You know where F is already.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know where G is.
And then, okay.
So start at C and play
C's
each one of those.
I see why you're saying. So C is nice because it doesn't have the sharps.
You don't have to think about the sharps and flats. It's pretty easy to figure out. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you got G, and then your 6th note of the scale is A, and that's a whole step.
Okay.
And then B is a whole step away from A, but a half step away from C.
Okay. Huh. Just like piano.
Just like piano.
Okay.
All right, and then so you should practice that and practice going back down. There's a couple exercises that you can do when you're doing this. And I would say the most important thing to do while you're doing these is to say the name of the note
while you're doing it.
While you're doing it, because the motions themselves, the intervals, no matter which major scale you play, if you're starting from that root and you're going up to the root again, you're gonna, it doesn't matter. Oh, okay, now we want to do a D major scale. Then we go. Right?
That's good.
You can learn the same thing. You just move everything up 2 frets. So the pattern remains the same. It's not like a piano where like all of a sudden you got to insert the black keys and the white keys.
Yeah.
This is all a straight line, so the intervals are the same. But you got to get familiar with what you're looking at, and at the same time, you need your brain to just know that's a D. That's
I want to like I can tell where it is like on a guitar. I just want to learn where it is like on a linear. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like put it into. I want to be able to know what note I'm playing.
Right. And this is how you do that: is you practice a scale, and you go and you say, okay, it's this note. Or you could do the same thing with if you were playing like chords and you just grabbed chords and you said, okay, I want to play, say, C, E, G. Or wait, that's the minor. Or is that, it's this one. No, it's this one. See, I can't even do it. That's how bad I am. it is. C, E, G. C, E, G. And then, you know, you want to go up and you say, all right, now I want to play the next triad of the D major scale, or of the C major scale, which would be D minor. And then you want to go up and you play, okay, what's the next chord? E minor. And then you got F major. You got G major. And then you got A minor. And then you got B minor flat 5. And then you got C major.
Oh.
Do you know about that? Do you know what I'm talking about there?
What I know
How to
like,
play your major scale in like chords?
I kind of know, like I know so for that one you didn't move, it was a half step down. Is that because, or the top note?
Let me I'm gonna get that whiteboard over there, wherever it is.
Well, now
I'm
that
gonna write it out.
makes sense
I'll show
on
you
the
what I'm talking about.
fretboard, like it's kind of putting these like.
Right. Let
Like
me
that's a
draw it
visual
out
to me.
so you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Actually, I might not grab that whiteboard. I might just find a piece of paper real quick.
Oh, okay.
All right. So when you have the major scale, let's do it like this. Can you see this?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so these are the root notes, and I've written underneath them Roman numerals. Familiar with Roman numerals?
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Mm-hmm.
7, and then
So that's
the octave,
everything
the root.
in the scale, and like
These
the
are this is like root to root, the root notes. Now you'll notice that the Roman numerals are a little different. You know, you have like lowercase Roman numerals, and that refers to like minor chords versus major chords.
Okay.
So what happens is if you play a note, so imagine you're playing a piano for a second and you want to play a chord. The chord is play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, right?
Yeah.
Because if you play all of the white keys, like because you're in the key of C, that's the scale. These are those notes,
Yeah.
right? And so if I want to play a chord, then I've got to go play a note, C, skip a note, skip the D, play E, and then skip another one and play G. So that would be a C major chord. That's the one chord, C, E, G. If I wanted to play it in three
Right.
notes. And then the next chord, if I move up and I keep playing chords, it's a D, an F, and an A. Now, if you spell out D, F, and A in the key of D, if you played a D major chord, D major is D, F sharp, A.
Yeah.
And so the
So
third is
you can move
flatted.
it
So that's
up.
actually a minor chord, which is why we put the 2 right there.
Okay. So it's whatever, if you use that spacing, it's if it's a, okay, that makes sense.
So here's
But it changes for each key that you're in, like whatever the root note is.
right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just write these numbers.
I saw some like chart someone sent me for like the Nashville number system. And that kind of is like,
So
okay.
so the Nashville number systems is all based on this. So when you're learning your numbers, you're learning them based on this. They're all referring to scale degrees and chords constructed upon scale degrees. So
Scale degrees.
so that's what each one of a degree of the scale would be like. The 2 chord.
Right.
And the 2 chord in the key of C would be a D based chord.
Yeah.
And if it's the natural one that occurs in the key of C, then it would be the 2 minor chord, because D to F is a minor third away. If you play a D on your steel guitar at the 2nd fret marker, and then you count up until you get to F, you're going to notice that D is here at the 2nd, and then your F is right here at the 3rd. 5 minus 2, that's 3. You went 3. Whereas if you go C, we're open all the way to where E is, E's right here at the 4th fret. So you had to go 4. So major thirds are 4, and minor thirds, here, I'll just lay it down here because that camera went out.
Okay.
And minor thirds are 4 intervals apart. So I'll just write a little 4 right there. And then this one's a 3. And then everywhere you see that they're the lowercase things, so here at the 2nd one, here at the 3rd one, at the 6th, and at the 7th one, these are minor chords. So these are all going to be, they're all going to have minor thirds, be a minor third apart. And then your 1, 4, and 5s, those are your majors. So you got 3 majors and 4 minors. In every major key, this is how it's going to lay out. So this is maybe if I wanted to play my scale in thirds, I might play these notes, And this would be like if you played the root note and then you played one, skipped one, and then you just went and you played all the way up the piano. Well, what happens if we add another note? If we play one, skip one, play one. So and then we skip another one, and then we add the G on top, right? So we would do the same thing here with the D. We say, okay, this one's going to become, we're going to skip the G and we're going to play A. And then when we make the E minor chord, we skip the A and we add the B. And then here we're going to skip the B, we're going to add the C. G. I have to start counting back over here again. So, okay, if I'm in the key of, if I skip A and play B, and then I skip C, then I'm playing D for the key of G, or the G chord in the key of C, I should say. And then I've got A to C. We're going to skip the D, so we'll have E.
Oh, I see.
B, D. We'll skip the E. We'll throw an F there. And then we'll have a G again. So those are all the chords, the 3-note chords. Okay.
Right. So that's how, like, that's a chord laid on top of the...
Yeah, and so generally when I say chords, I mean, you're kind of really meaning anything that's like polyphonic, sort of, but it's not very descriptive because it could mean a 3-note chord or it could be no
Right.
4-note chord. And so
But those are
generally,
just a 3-note chord.
yeah, so we could call these triads. You know,
Okay.
you have three.
Yeah, I know what that is.
And that's pretty exclusively going to mean a 3-note chord. If it's a triad, it means a 3-note chord.
Okay.
And a lot of times when you say chord, you kind of mean 4 notes, or you might mean 4 notes. So, but for now, that's a C major triad. And D, F, and A, that's a D minor triad. And then here's an E minor triad. F major triad, G major triad, A minor triad. And now this one's a little funny because if we're in the key, let's do this. Let's count our notes. Can you find a B on your steel guitar? A B. You got one. If you just go to the 12th fret on your second string and you go down, that's a B. Okay.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So count the B up to D and tell me how many notes it takes you to get from B to D.
4.
From B to D?
Oh, how many? So B.
How many times did you move the bar? Don't count the number of notes.
Oh, 3.
Yeah, exactly. The interval. Okay.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
All right, so that's 3. Now go from D to F.
It's the same.
It's the same?
3.
So, all right. So go from E to G. So find an E, be at your 4th fret, right?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say screw it and use the top string. E to G, E, F, F sharp, G. So they're all.
That one's a 3. That one's 3.
Yeah. So they're
what was
all
F?
3?
Can you do F to A? F to A.
F sharp, G. Oh, G sharp, A.
How many half steps
Was that? Was that 4?
Yeah, that was 4. Okay, so here's what I want to show you. So we know that we have 2 types of chords that we were talking about so far in this whole thing, right? We had major and we have minor. And so the intervals between the first and the third on the major chords is 4. On the minor chords, it's third because your third is flatted. That's why they call it a minor third, right?
Okay.
But then that in the fifth note, 1, 3, and 5, the 5th note, that one is going to be 7 away if you add these numbers, no matter what. Your 5th is always the same distance, but the 3rd is the thing that changes and tells you what quality of chord you have, whether it's major or minor. And so when you add the distances together, you get the 1 and the 5. And when you measure the distance between the minor third and the major third from the 5th, you know that you see that it's opposite. So I have a 4 and a 3, a 3 and a 4.
What would have to be, I guess.
And that's the same so the distance between, if you went and you measured them, I'm not going to make you do it, but if you measured the distance between E and G, you would find that it's 3. And G to B, you'd find that it's 4, because you know that it's a minor triad. Same thing with F, A, and C, and G, B, and D. The distances are going to be between the 1 and the 3 are going to be 4 half steps, and the distance between the second 2 notes, the 3rd and the 5, are going to be 3 half steps. You come up here to the 6th, that's also a 6 minor chord, so it's going to be the same thing, 3 and 4. However, when we measured up here, this chord right here is a little different. It's a little special. Okay? This chord had a 3 and a 3. What is going on there? So this chord is a diminished chord. This is a diminished triad. And the 7th chord is always a diminished. So you have 3 majors, 3 minors, and a diminished. And technically, when you have a triad, it's just a diminished. But when you have 4 notes, and we'll get to that in a second, you can have a fully diminished or a half diminished. And this one's actually going to be what we call a half diminished. But I just want you to know that this one chord is going to be a little bit different than all the other ones.
Okay.
So you got 3 major, 3 minor, 1 diminished. And
So that's the one I was asking about.
yeah,
right?
where you were like, wait a minute. As I was spelling them out, I got to that last one. You said, wait a second, what is that? Why did you go that way? Exactly. Okay, so we're going to keep going. We're going to add another note. And this is where it's going to start to make sense with our steel guitar, with our tuning. So our neck, well, it could make sense. But for now, we'll just do the major scale part. Okay. So if we play a note, skip a note, we got D, we got G, and then if we skip a note, if we skip the A and play the B, okay, and then we skip, so I think this just, I just spell it all out right here. Just do that quickly. G, A, and B.
So instead of a triad, those are like,
These are 4-note chords.
okay.
And so this is if you just played a note, skipped a note, played a note, skipped a note, on just all the white keys, and you were playing 4 notes at a time. You could take 2 fingers and, you know, on a piano. And you can do this on a piano. I mean, I'm sure you got a piano at the house.
Yeah.
So this chord here,
I've kind of done that before. Oh, okay.
is
So
going to
that
be C major 7, which you see written with a triangle sometimes.
yeah.
So it could be like this, like major 7, or the triangle means major 7. This D chord is D minor 7 or D minor 7. This E chord is also E minor 7 or E minor 7.
Okay.
This F chord is going to be F major 7.
See, I've never had any real like theory. Like I just kind
of this G chord here is going to be G dominant 7, and we just write that with a regular 7.
Okay, dominant regular 7.
Yeah, so if you're playing a major 7, you have to indicate that it's a major 7, because dominant chords are way more prominent in music. So I think that's why we write these 7s. I'll also say that this 7 in these is also a dominant 7. It's not a major 7. So you could have a minor chord that has a major 7, but you'd have to put like minor major, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you'd have like the dash or the M and the triangle, you know. You don't run into that too often, but there's some cliches, and we can talk about those later. It's not really super important right this second. So this one's another minor. So these are our 3 minors, right? 1, 2, 3. And these are our 3 major triads. C major triad with the major 7, F major triad with the major 7, G major triad with the dominant 7.
Okay.
And then this one here is not a fully diminished chord, but this one is going to be, we can call this minor 7. Uh-oh. Flipped around, did a thing. Let me just, is there a way I can just turn that one off? Let me see if I can turn that one off. What is that? Picking hand. Oh, nice. Cool. This one is often written as a circle with a slash through it. It's usually smaller than that, though.
Oh yeah, I've seen
kind of
that
superscript
when I look up chords to songs that I try to learn. I always wonder what that was.
They call it, this is a half diminished symbol, B minor 7, which is, you can also describe as B minor 7 flat 5. And B minor 7 flat 5, while it's like, it's easier to write this B half diminished, B minor 7 flat 5 like describes it so you know what you're writing out.
Oh, okay.
So as we were talking about, and we said, okay, we had the regular 5. All of these chords had a distance of 7, between the root and the 5th. And then we get up here and we see, if we had a distance of 7 here, this would be an F sharp. And because we flatted that note, we actually have a distance of 6 now, And so that's why the distances are shorter. But if we look up at the top, the A is actually the, dominant 7 of B. It's a whole step down from B, not a half step.
Okay.
And so that's how you're going to tell the difference between major 7 and dominant 7 is your top note. So let's pretend there was a C here. A half step below the top note is your major 7.
A whole step from the top note
is your dominant 7.
Okay.
Because you can see in each of these, okay, this is a half step away. There's one half step. If we just pretended there was a D on top of this C, how far is D away from C?
A whole step.
Whole step, so 2 half steps. How far is E away from D?
A whole step.
Whole step or 2 half steps? How
Half
far
step.
is, exactly, 1, and then how far is F away from G?
A whole step.
Whole step or 2
but
half
you guys
steps.
you always count it by half steps.
I count it by half steps just so that I know,
different.
because if I say 1 whole step or 1 half step, it's just easier if I'm writing 2 and 1, because then you just see and you know instantly, oh, okay, this is twice as far away as this one.
That one. Okay.
Or you just know it's so I generally just count everything in half steps, but that works for me. But you can count them in whole steps if you like. Same thing here.
So that one's 2 half steps.
2 half steps. And then up here, B and A.
That's 2.
2 half steps. And then we would come back to the key of C where we'd have another major 7. So you can see that the only chords in the key of C are the 1 and 4. Those are the only ones with the major 7. Everything else takes the dominant 7.
But that'll change. Does that always, that one will change depending on what key you're in?
So the spelling of the chords is what changes. This is why the Nashville number system is very helpful, is because if we took all of this away, and I'll bring this, let me go get another piece of paper and I'll rewrite this. So we'll rewrite this in something that's more like the Nashville number system. So we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm not going to rewrite the top chord here. But if we play one, skip one, play one, then we get 3, and we get 5, and then we get 7. And you know that that's major 7. I'm going to put that there. That's actually, oh shit, it's not updating. Come on. There we go. Okay. So you know it's updated here. 1, 3, 5, and 7. Now, within that same key, this is the thing that's going to happen. When you take this chord here, this is going to look weird because now all of a sudden it's going to
numbers.
We're writing it in terms of So these are going to tell you which tones of this key right here are all here. Now, there's a couple different ways we can write it with numbers, so we'll write it this way first. And 2.
Oh.
So if I were to use sort of the Nashville number system, this is the Nashville number system typically refers more to like chords. But this would be like, this isn't, I wouldn't say like a core part of that system, but this would be a way to use the Nashville number system to construct chords or write out chords so that you could understand them better. But the Nashville number system typically just is like a shorthand notation that uses these concepts to refer to chords. So you might say like 1, 7, or like 1, 6, 4, 6, 4 minor, and then like you're going to use that to like illustrate out a progression in shorthand notation, so you can just kind of do it quickly or say it to somebody, but it uses these things where instead of talking about the key and spelling the chords out within the key, within the context of the key, what you're doing is you're referring to the degrees of the scale and the chord quality. Is it minor? Is it, 2/5 to 1, 2/5 to 4, talking about music in these sort of terms that follow general Western music structures. So, for example, here I've just constructed those same chords that we had. Where's my C? But I've done them just describing them with numbers. So like a C major 7 chord is the 1, the 3, the 5, and the major 7 in the key of C. But this also describes the major 7 chord in any key.
Right.
So if you wanted to do it in, say, the key of F,
you could also...
it would happen to be this same exact chord that we wrote down here. And I would describe F, A, C, and E in the key of F as a 1, 3, 5, and major 7. You know, now this uses scale degrees within the context of this key right here to describe what your other chords are. So this tells you when you write it out like this, okay, my 3 chord in my key is my 3, my 5, my major 7, and my 2, or the 9. You could think about that as the 9. If you were just to keep counting up, you know, you're on the piano and you just keep counting up. So you could add 7 to each of these notes up here. That would be constructing it this way. I'm going to throw one more at you. Be right back.
It makes sense in turn, like if I think of like looking at a piano, you know, it kind of makes.
I think that way can be a little bit more confusing for trying to figure out things. So instead of writing a 1, I'm going to write an R. It's going to stand for a root. So in this situation, I'm going to write out the same thing for all of these. And this way to look at it, instead of revealing information about which notes, this is, we're going to assume that I already know the major scale notes. And instead, we're going to look at, this is looking at each chord as if we were constructing each chord from the bottom up. But I already happen to know that at least for our, you know, key, we've got, you know, some different chords. A minor 7, G7, F major 7, E minor 7, D minor 7, C major 7. Okay. And if I want to think about how to construct each of these and the qualities that they have, you know,
Okay.
each of these chords are going to have a root, a 3, a 5, and a 7. You know, another way you can think about this is like when you have 4-part harmony and you think about like a barbershop quartet or something like that, or like the Andrews Sisters or something, you know, people are singing like a 4-part harmony part.
They're singing.
You can think about like the lowest voice is the bass. And then what's above the bass? You have the tenor. And then above the tenor, you have the alto. And then above that, you have the soprano. And now this isn't necessarily get into rearrange, you know, inversions and things like that, but you can kind of think about it as like if voices were going to sing this, like, you know, this is if we were singing it in root position like this, you know, maybe there's a voice that's singing a bottom voice, and you know, if, a voice that's singing the top voice, and so on and so forth. And I've started thinking about my steel guitar in this way, and it's been helpful to like sort of figure out voicings and things with dealing with this. Okay, so if we look at our second sheet here, a C major 7 chord. If your root is C, what kind of third do you have in a C major 7 chord? You have a major or a minor third?
A major.
Major third. So we'll just leave that as a 3. Do you have a regular 5 or a flat 5 or a sharp 5?
Wouldn't it just be a regular 5?
Just a regular 5. And what kind of 7 do you have up here for a C major 7? Do you have a dominant 7 or a regular 7?
I think is it a dominant 7?
For the C major 7 chord, it's a major 7.
Oh, okay.
That's
Oh,
that's
well, yeah,
that's they kind of
that's the
spell
whole
it that way.
point of the.
Okay, so I'm gonna put the little triangle so we know that that's a major 7.
Okay.
So when we're spelling our major scale out in chords, that's what this is. So major scale, because if we were spelling out a different scale, it might be different chords. So a D minor 7, what kind of a third is that going to have? A major third or a minor third?
A minor.
Right, because that's the difference between how we know it's a major chord or a minor chord. We look at the 3. Is the 3 flat or is it regular?
I see what you're saying.
So, and our 5 is just regular, it's just a 5. And our 7, is it major 7 or is it dominant 7?
Major.
On your D
So
minor 7
triangle
chord.
means
Major 7.
major. So then it's a dominant 7.
Correct. So the only difference that we need to make here is that 7. Now the difference between it and the major 7 chord is also going to be that it has a dominant 7 and a flat 3. But when we write dominant 7, it's just a 7. And then when we write major 7, we add a little triangle, or you could write MAJ, for major. But I put the triangle because it's a little easier for shorthand. So if we look at E minor 7, it should be built the same way, right?
Yeah.
It should just have its root E, the flat 3 away from that, the 5 away from that, and then the dominant 7. So those two are constructed the same way, same intervals in between all those notes. And if we look at our F major 7, that's the only major 7 chord that's in our scale here other than the C major 7. So that one should be constructed the exact same way that that one over there is constructed. So we got a major 7. Now, what about this dominant, this G7? We only have one dominant chord in this thing. How are we going to do this? Root's going to be fine. We got a major or minor third in the dominant 7 chord.
A minor.
Think we got a minor in the G7?
Oh, no. That's a major.
Major. Okay, good. The 5th, does that change in a dominant 7 chord, or does that stay the same? Do we alter the 5th?
No, I think it stays the same.
Stays the same. What about the 7? Do we need a major 7 or a dominant 7?
A dominant 7?
Yeah, this one's the no-brainer, We say C major 7, we use the major 7. We say C, G dominant 7, we're going to use the dominant 7. Yeah. This one, we don't need to change anything. Major 3rd, no altered 5th, 7's dominant. Okay, we got A minor 7. Well, wait a minute. We've already got we got 2 of those somewhere else. We can construct this one the same way as we constructed those. So we just make sure that we have a minor 3rd in there, a flat 3.
Okay.
Now this one here is going to be a little different because we only got one of these B half diminished. Now, do you remember what I said earlier when I said you could write half diminished a different way? You remember that?
Yeah, not with the. I know that's the one with the.
Do you remember how we could? Can we spell how else could we spell B half diminished 7? We said B minor 7, and we said flat 5, which tells you everything you need to know right here, right?
Yeah, that's basically what it has in the chord, right?
Right.
Like
so
what
kind of 3 would you have in that chord?
A flat 3rd.
A flat 3rd, minor 3. That's good. And then what kind of 5?
It wouldn't be a major.
Look at this
No,
spelling right here.
the 7.
So this is here. I can write this as an M. If that's helpful.
Like so then you just put a major by this.
So this is B minor 7 flat 5. That's how you read that. Which means the same thing as this thing. This B half diminished 7. But this is how you might spell it. And we took care of the minor part. We said, okay, the minor part is just going to be taken care of by that flat 3 right there. What do we? Do we alter this 5 at all?
That's the one
is it
that
flat or is it regular?
is that one's also flat, right? Because they both have the 3.
Exactly.
Okay.
We said, hey, this one doesn't stack up. The interval is not the same up to 7. If it was a major in the key of B, this should be F sharp. But because we have a flat 5 here, then we get a flat 5.
Okay.
And now what about this 7 right here? Is it a dominant 7 or a major 7?
A major? I don't know.
You're just over here guessing. No, it's the dominant 7. These are the only 2 with major 7s.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
1 and 4. So you have 3 major chords. And by major, we're determining that based on the 3. The 3,
Okay.
right?
So
The
I know,
major 3. So
and then you got 4 minors.
and technically you've got 3 minors. 1, 2, 3.
Well,
because this is technically a minor third, but this part is also a minor third, and because of that, we call it a diminished, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's only half diminished because if it was a fully diminished, then this 7 would also be flat.
That's what I was gonna.
Or sorry, this is technically already a flat 7, but it would be the flat 7 would also be lowered, and this would actually make it a 6. So it would actually make it a 6.
So you lower it again.
If you wanted a fully diminished chord,
okay.
a fully diminished chord would be like root, flat 3, flat 5, and 6.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
But in this case, it's only a half diminished chord, so we still have 7.
Okay.
And another way we could kind of write this is all dominant 7s are technically flat 7s. You know, if we were to, like as in the 7, if you talk about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you're constructing your major scale C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, then that 7 and that B, they line up together, and you're talking about it in a major 7 context. However, if you want to delineate, a major 7 from a dominant 7, it's a flatted 7th. So you flat the 7. So people don't write the flat; they just write 7. But technically, this is what they all are. You know, they're a flat 7. And so then, if you flatted the flat 7, then you'd get a diminished 7th, which is actually the 6th tone of the chord.
Okay, so I just need to remember that a fully diminished chord, the 7 is you flatten it again, it's a 6.
Exactly. Okay. Diminish them all. You take your major chord, and then everything other than the root, you flat all of them. So you'd say, or I guess you'd diminish the 7th, which is you'd bring it down 2 times. So
yeah.
So let's.
That's what I was gonna ask, since it's already since it would only be
right, since it's already flatted.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's take some of these ideas here, and let's see if we can't find them on our steel guitar. You know.
Yeah.
Let's start here with like what is this? Oh no, you. Okay, so let's start with like maybe a major. We're gonna. Oh, this is so difficult because we're not actually. It's difficult to start in open. Let's just not think about the key for a second.
It'll still make sense with the spacing, though.
Yeah, let's think about it with the numbers here. Oh, come on. Let's just think that. Okay, so let's just, instead of trying to spell out all 4 notes, let's just do 3 notes at a time for right now. Let's do root, third, and 5. Let's start with that, and then we can add the 7ths later. So let's start at the 3rd fret here. This is a key of, or let's start at the 5th fret. F is a good key, and there's only 1 flat, so we don't have to think about too much of it. B flat is in key of F. So we'll play 1, 3, and 5. Do you know where those are? Which strings? You played the 3 and the 5. Put your thumb down one more string. All 3 strings in a row.
Oh yeah.
That's 1, 3, 5. So that's F, A, C in the key of F, right? Now, if we go to the 2 chord, we know that the 2 is two half steps up.
You flatten the 3rd. Let's go.
Exactly. G minor. Now go up 2 more. And what chord is that? What chord is it?
F.
Key of F. We played F major. We played G minor. What's a whole step up from G minor?
Would that be A? That wouldn't be A minor.
Yeah, it would. It would be.
That's
in
A
fact,
minor.
A minor. Now we got to go up a half step for that B flat. And is it major or minor?
Major.
Now we go up to our 5 chord, which is also a major chord. And what key? What note is that, or what chord is that?
C.
C, exactly. Now we go up another whole step, and we've got a minor again.
D minor.
D minor, exactly. And now we go up another whole step. And what is this one? Yeah. E half diminished.
E half diminished.
Or
so
E.
if you were to play the full diminished, does it go?
No, full diminished would be. So you'd go. So the whatever fret you're playing the first note at, that's the same one you're going to play the 4th string at. So you go back 2 or back 1, and then play the next 2, and then back up. So if you just watch my hand, I'm like.
Okay.
You don't have to go anywhere crazy.
Okay,
yeah,
that's.
And you could pick that however you want to. You don't have to. You don't have to use the 4 fingers or whatever like I'm doing.
My second finger.
Or you could even just use your thumb, the whole time. That's the other thing is you can use those little exercises we did where
Yeah.
you can start to do that as you're learning these scales and gaining familiarity. And I would say if you're doing that, you know, maybe it's worth it for that you when you spell each chord like we just did, you know, we said and you said that's C major, but you should also as you do it, you could spell it. You could say C E G or sorry, this is key of F. F A C G B flat D A C E. So on and so forth. B flat D F, and then C E G.
Okay. Okay, and then probably also play them all backwards and say them backwards too.
If you think it's difficult, it's probably worth it. If you're like, oh,
Right.
that's not necessarily going to come easy to me, or you know, it's the same thing as like the fingers, right? You're like, oh, that's going to hurt my brain for a second because I have to think about it. Because if you want to think about in general, when you go and you play music, and particularly you play improvised music, you know, it's not all planned out and it's not all figured out. You're composing in real time, and so you don't want to get
gotta know
hung up.
what goes together, like
You don't even want to necessarily like you might in your brain think something, but your hands already need to know what's happening. And so there as a part of the learning process, you know, you might not be thinking, oh, C, E, and G, or you know, C, E flat, and G. You're not going to be thinking about those in real time. What you're going to want to be focused on is you need you having gone ahead of time and spent the time to say, oh, this is C and this is E and this is G. While you do it, while you strike those notes, is you're going to hear those notes and they're going to register and mean something to you, and they're going to mean something to you within the context of like you saying, oh, this is my C major scale, or this is my, you know, my scale of chords, or whatnot. And being able to take those sounds, like they're going to mean something to you as sounds. So if you think within a context, now you can hear the sound maybe ahead of time, or when you hear the sound, it's familiar to you. You know what somebody else is playing. You're like, oh, they're playing. Oh, okay, that's that major scale that they're into right now. They're there.
like it registers in your brain to where you can recognize it, hearing it, and it's almost like talking. Like you're not thinking about, I'm gonna say this word next.
Right. You're not like, oh, where do your vocal cords already know what to do. You're not like, oh, I need to like make this shape and I need to push air out of my mouth, you know. And you're also gaining context for where that is on your tool and on your instrument, and how to strike it and how to manipulate the bar such that you're hearing the tones that you want all at the same time. And it might seem like super silly, super like this is baby's first music, whatever. But like that's very important that you're like, that's C and that's E and that's G. And maybe, you know, we just did that on the strings where they happen to line up. Like maybe I need to learn that on every set of strings.
That's what I want to do now.
So like for example, if you were to take let's say take the top 4 strings. Learning the intervals between them, between your what is this? Your 4th and your 3rd string, there's only a whole step. And to go from a root to a major 3rd, you got to go up 2 frets. You got to go. That's a major 3rd. And the distance between these two is already a minor 3rd. So you could go. And then to get your major 7, So you can, that's how you would spell like that major 7 chord on the top 4 strings. And then you got to say, okay, well now I got to spell a minor 7 chord on the next 4 strings, you know? And maybe that looks like, or, and then you like, oh, wait a minute, that shape that I just learned how to play, oh, that's the same as the next one. And then your next one up is,
yeah, that's exactly what I need to learn more, all that stuff more, like the single note scales and stuff. Because since this is already a chord, like all the strings are already a chord, that's what like saves you if you don't know.
yeah, exactly. It's the way the instrument's naturally laid out, and so there's obviously a lot of really cool sounds and things that you can get with that, but it's not necessarily intuitive for scales.
Yeah.
It's very easy to play like chord-based things. So starting to, and there's not, you don't get the tactile sense of like pressing frets on a guitar. So you don't get this muscle memory in your left hand. You're literally just, you need to be able to visualize and like understand the patterns with your hands. And the only way to do that is to, I think, you know, understand scale construction, understand the intervals in between each of your strings. So like whatever I just showed you there, I need to practice that a lot. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But because I understand how to construct a scale and the intervals between the strings, I can slowly say, oh, okay, yeah. All right, so these are 2 apart. You know, so there's my major. And then, you know, slowly build it out from there. And then you can start to say, oh, wow, there's my whole major scale in chords.
Yeah, and then finding it like linear and then like up and down too, you know, because the voicing's different. So that's what's so freaking weird about.
Right. And then it's like, can you play the whole chord? You know, is there a way that I can play, but as a whole chord? I got to bend this string to do it, but you know, and then you know, there's the other ones are a little more difficult. But you find where you can, you know, what's possible, and then you can sort of figure out like, hey, is this actually practical, or is this just kind of where the notes lay? And you'll notice that it's very practical to be able to get all kinds of scales with 2 notes at a time in thirds and in sixths. And, you know, that's partially why you hear, I think, Jerry Bird and Don Helms doing a lot of that stuff. You hear a lot of like Santo and Johnny. He does stuff in octaves, which is play 1, skip 3, play 1. So for steel. You know, you'll hear him do a lot of melodies in octaves like that, which is a cool sound. What was the other thing? I feel like Jerry Bird, you hear a lot of triads, and you begin to understand things like this, where what's the triad for the chord right here? So like Jerry Bird's not going to play these lower notes within chords. He's going to play these upper ones. And then maybe even building a triad from here, you know, starting with a chord that's built on the 5th of another chord. And so maybe it's you know, if you play a minor triad built on the 5th of a chord, and you've got minor triads all over this thing, you know, that was the thing we talked about the other day, where we said, okay, well, those are all minor triads. And if you build that on the 5th of a chord, then and you spell that out with a root and a major 3, you get a 9 chord. But assuming that somebody else in the band is playing the root and playing the 3, that's what makes that work. And then sound really cool when you're actually playing it in context with the band.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that you can do with smaller chords and fewer notes. You don't have to have all of everything, but I feel like beginning to understand, okay, major triads, minor triads, and how can we, even just major thirds and minor thirds, and where can I play them on my instrument? And do I know the names of the notes when I'm playing them? Starting
Yeah, I
to
feel like that's
learn and figure that
forcing me
stuff
to
out.
look, even looking at it visually, and then like it's kind of like forcing me to have an epiphany moment. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
then you can, right? Like there's so many different directions you can even take that. You know what I mean?
Some things that help me, particularly when I'm messing with new tunings, if I'm like, okay, I'm looking at E13, or like I came up with this other crazy tuning last week, which is going to force me to modify this quad steel guitar even further. But what I'll do is I'll do similar to writing this out like this, and I'll write all the names of the notes and my tuning, and then I'll do this where I'll in between each interval, I'll just write how many notes, like how many half steps each strings are apart.
Oh, that's smart too. Yeah.
So then I know, oh, okay, I have a minor third, like these strings right here on strings 2 and 3, on strings 5 and 7, I have minor thirds. Okay, I have major thirds on these strings. I have, a whole step between these two.
Does that teach you the shapes too? Kind of like
You
finding
can
this.
finding the shapes is a little bit that's not necessarily a diagram to teach you the shapes, but it can either inform you to find the shapes on your own, or you
Yeah.
can then use that to say, okay, let me write out the shape because I don't even understand what it is that I'm doing, and I'll do that sometimes too. You can't really see it, but on the whiteboard back there, I heard some piano or some exercise on piano last night, and I was trying to see if I could figure it out to play it on steel, and I figured out it's impossible without a pedal steel.
See, that's what I run into sometimes too. Is be like, dang it, that's just one of them ones you can't imitate. It's just one you gotta.
Or you don't get to play all the notes that you want to, and I've been trying to play a lot of 4-note things, and I'm like, I can't have 2 moving voices and keep these other 2 notes really. But there's probably a way I could do it, maybe with just 3 notes. I don't know. But well, anywho, did I turn your brain to tapioca yet, or
Yes.
how you
So
feeling?
I'm gonna do what I'm gonna keep saying that, and then I'm gonna do it in every key.
There's really limitless ways that you can do this, and you're going to continue to teach yourself. And then, oh, by the way, when you're done with this neck, you're going to do it on the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and the different tuning, and yay.
Right. So you're going to be working these are core fundamental things to understanding and gaining intimate knowledge of the tool that you're using. So I would say take it in bite-size chunks.
Right.
Start with start with it in and maybe C is not necessarily the best key, if you're trying to spell out 4 notes, because the major 7's not necessarily going to just be right there. I would give yourself some kind of a constraint and just say, okay,
Right.
I'm going to use the top 4 strings, or I'm going to use the top 3 strings. How do I just do it on strings 1, 2, and 3? How do I do it on strings 2, 3, and 4? How do I do it on strings, 3, 4, and 5? And what's going to happen is you'll notice, because the 6 tunings, guess what? They repeat. So eventually you're going to get an octave down, and it's the same.
Okay.
So strings 1, 2, and 3 is going to be the same as 5, 6, and 7, because they're an octave apart.
Yay!
So you only gotta really learn 4 patterns, per
these
your,
really learn these first top 4 strings, because then I can just kind of translate it a little easier.
Sort of. It's gonna sort of translate. And what I mean by sort of translate is like, let's say you play a major triad. You learn to play a major triad on, strings 2, 3, and 4. Now, when I go and I play on strings, the next set down, maybe what I need to play is I need to play a major triad on, if I'm playing a 4-note thing, and then I need the. So that part's gonna maybe translate, but the chord and in the context that I'm playing in might be completely different.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So like it's not necessarily gonna apply in the same way, but if you're looking at it from different angles, if you're saying, wow, what is this? Is this a major triad? Am I looking at just the intervals between 2 notes at a time? You'll start to see lots and lots of patterns, lots and lots of commonalities.
Like, it'll just kind of unlock it. It'll kind of work itself out the more I look at it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, really.
Let me see real quick before we jump. I'll see if I can find some of these like charts that I like make for myself. All right, so there's.
Hey, figured that out.
So sometimes I'll just take like paper like this and write out stuff.
Oh, whoa, that's crazy. That's what a
And
chart.
I like color coded some of this stuff. But like for example, I was writing out a specific scale, and sometimes I'll be honest, I'll write this stuff out and and then I'm looking at it and trying to understand it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And so I might look at it and be like, gosh, that's kind of hard to look at. This one's been pretty helpful that I did. I kind of printed some stuff where I had I sort of printed a couple of different things here. I sort of did these in quadrants, but the general idea is like, if you and you can, like I said, you can take normal
paper and do that.
Yeah, normally what I've been doing now is I'll take a normal piece of paper, and instead of doing it like this where I draw the lines with a ruler, I'll just take the paper and each line is a string, because that seems to make way more sense. But I used to print these different things out. But like, for example, if I was trying to understand a certain chord, like a type of chord, I would just draw a line all the way across. And so I might look, and what happens is there's 4 different quadrants amongst the guitar. So like, if you start and you play, say, C6, which is your tuning at fret 0, it's going to be like a straight line all the way across, right? And then if you played, let me see if I find that one. I have that one somewhere. This is minor 6. This is 7/5/5. This is 7.
So you're trying to play 6s on every chord, is what that is?
What is this? This is not right. Oh fuck! This is a different tuning. That's why. This is.
I still get the idea of it though.
Like, yeah.
Play around with it.
So it'd be like you have a straight line all the way across, and then you have an octave up. You have a straight line all the way across. But then, oh, by the way, there's going to be 3 other patterns.
Oh, nice.
That are going to be in there, and I'll demonstrate that real quick. Let's see if I can do it in this tuning, because I'm just so used to playing A6 now with the 5 on the top. Like, so for example, C6 chord, right? And then we know up here another C6 chord, right? Well, if we go up somewhere here, let's see. where this would be. So there's going to be
Oh, so you're playing C. You're playing a C6 chord, kind of like flopped on top of the, on a different fret.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're playing, what was it? And then you get the next note up. And then there's also, so you get it over here in the middle of the guitar as well.
All right.
And then there's another spot right here where you can get it where it'll be. And then. So you have, so there's C6 everywhere, all over the guitar. And guess what? That means that there's C7 all over the guitar. There's C minor 7. There's C minor 6. There's
change that shape a little bit.
And then pick any chord. They're all there. But the thing is there's these sort of shape, like patterns or shapes. And if you know how to run like, oh, okay, so if this is C major 6 and I need like 4, which is, you know, but I need it over here, you know, it's going to look like.
Oh.
And so you got to know which notes of the, and that's just the chord. That's not even the scale, right?
Right.
But then you also know that 5's right there too. It's just 2 frets up from that 4. Or whatever.
Well, that'll be fun for me to play around. I can just find all, and then that way I can start writing my own little charts like that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of experimenting with stuff. I would just use regular note paper. That's what I do now. I just don't know where any of my more recent ones were. I
have graph paper too. That would probably work.
Yeah, graph paper works good too. Just something with the lines where you don't have to like draw the. Graph paper is nice because you don't have to draw the strings, and you can just like, you know,
color in the dots.
Yeah, you can just be like, oh, these are the intersection points, and you can say, oh, it's this fret marker, so you don't have to like draw lines the other way either.
Okay.
So they both can be helpful.
All right. Well, that's pretty good. I'm gonna start digging in on all that good stuff.
Cool. Well, we can meet again next week. That's fine. And you know, we'll just kind of check in and see where you're at on some of these major scales and stuff.
All right, Eddie. Thanks.
All right, Naomi. Take care.
All right, you too. Catch you on the flip side.
Gotta figure out how to turn this off.